We come here today to acknowledge our complacency in the horrible crimes inflicted on the Hispanic Third World in our name through the School of the Americas.
There's a great fear that's gripping the country since 9/11. People are afraid to speak out who spoke out before because they don't want to be considered unpatriotic.
So here we are, 7 years after the fact. 7 years. And we're still waiting for a real criminal investigation of the events of September 11th, 2001. The biggest attack, the biggest crime in American history. And 7 years later, we still don't have justice for all those victims and all their families.
I have just one question. Who are we and who's responsible for what we've become?
But when it comes to 9/11, are you so sure?
No.
Okay.
No, but I ask questions, and what perturbs me is that you don't get answers. Nobody wants to talk about it. This event that changed our entire history of our country, why aren't we allowed to discuss it? Why aren't we allowed to ask questions? The moment you do, you get a reaction like he gave me. How dare you? How dare you question your government?
I never alleged that there was any conspiracy. What I suggested was that there were warnings that came into this administration.
Now is the time for our elected officials to be held accountable. Now is the time for the media to be held accountable. Why aren't the hard questions being asked? We know there were numerous warnings of the events to come on September 11th. Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, delivered one such warning. Those engaged in unusual stock trades immediately before September 11 knew enough to make millions of dollars from United and American Airlines, certain insurance and brokerage firm stocks. What did this administration know, and when did it know it? Who else knew, and why did they not warn the innocent people of New York who were needlessly murdered?
It's not so much what they say, it's the things that, make you look at what you thought you saw in a different light. And those things for me that bother me is the hole in the Pentagon being too small for a plane, the lawn isn't mussed up, and the government's not showing the plane hitting when many cameras photographed it. At the World Trade Center, 3 buildings came down like demolition, and 2 of them were hit by a plane, but the third one, they said, do you want us to pull it? And they pulled it, and it looked just like the other 2. Those things bother me. In Pennsylvania, the plane that went down, there was just a hole in the ground. There wasn't any wreckage. There wasn't any skid marks. There wasn't any tear in the earth, and no one's ever really found out about that. So every place there's questions.
My questions are simple. I worked in demolition. I'm a former frogman, underwater demolition team. I know how to blow things up. How could the buildings fall at the rate of gravity? Basic physics tells you that can't happen.
When I first saw the buildings fall, I said, damn, it looks like Las Vegas. Looks like they're imploding some buildings. I've seen buildings imploded. I know I've seen planes that hit buildings. Planes don't knock down buildings. Fire doesn't burn down buildings. that building was blown up internally, and I'm not a smart guy, but I could see that.
Oh, you're a smart guy.
And I could see that both of them fell exactly symmetrically together as, you know, the dunes did in Vegas. I mean, I was watching all of that in the third building. Nothing happened to it, and it fell. I said, damn, you know, what's going on?
Man.
And then the next thing I know, there's this big thing that this happened, and that happened when we knew that did not happen.
Building 7. How did they rig that building so that it came down on the evening of the day?
Are you referring to the Larry Silverstein statement to pull it and the way that it all came down? Absolutely.
How convenient.
Yes.
When did they rig that building?
Why? And then once you...
That's the most curious question, and I have not received a satisfactory answer. If somebody could give me an answer for how you rig that building and then bring it down on the day.
That is a curiosity, isn't it?
That's the one thing that I have not gotten a satisfactory answer from anyone.
There are certain things that really kind of like, yeah, is that true? You know, and like the calling away the evidence was definitely one of them, especially by a prosecutor like Rudolph Giuliani. I mean, who should ought to know that you don't take away forensic evidence from approach crimes.
Steel that would have been key to figuring out what happened to these buildings. What happened to that? Well, New York City accepted a plan 11 days after the attack to immediately start recycling the steel. Not even in the United States, where some of it might have gotten saved inadvertently. No, it was put on ships bound for India and China to be melted down.
I'm aware that there's still some who would question or even justify the offense of 9/11. But let us be clear. Al-Qaeda killed nearly 3,000 people on that day.
Al-Qaeda is, in my opinion, has been exploited. I question whether such a group even exists.
That it was former Foreign Secretary Robin Cook from the United Kingdom who defined for us who exactly is Al-Qaeda. He said that Al-Qaeda is the CIA's Rolodex.
Later, 9/11 happened, and I remember he was telling me how how you're going to see soldiers looking in caves for people in Afghanistan and Pakistan and all these places, and there's going to be this war on terror, which is no real enemy, and the whole thing is a giant hoax.
Now, people, if you're like me, that is extremely disturbing. We've fought 2 wars, we've changed our entire foreign policy, and we've had the Patriot Act put on us, all supposedly because of Osama bin Laden.